It's a new day. It is Thursday, and welcome to the show. This is August, and we have Andrea waving. We have Miss Anitra in her blue, and we have Miss M pumping with the white. Say hello, ladies.
Hey.
Hello, ladies.
All right, it sounds good. Let me go ahead and do viewer roll call. I see Miss Connie out there. Hey, Miss Connie. And Jazzy Renee just showed up. Well, amen. Let's raise the roof. We do have
Jimmy
Jamie
Fizzle.
in the house. We have MDD412 in the house. And also, we do have Miss Molly. Hello, Miss Molly. Thank
Molly
you for
McButter. Hey,
gracing
Molly.
us with your presence. And with that said, we do have a guest, and we're so glad you're with us. The guest is Mr. Jeremiah Peterson. So, Patterson, sorry. Let's begin. His life in advocacy and education. At just 8 years old, he became a presidential historian, a civil rights activist at 9, and an independent journalist at 13. Wow, this kid has been in the trenches and was a published author by 19. At 20, he didn't stop there. What did he do? He shifted his whole media platform to mainly investigate journalism. Now at 21, just 21, seemed like this dude's been out here in a decade. Now at 21, he's still doing this powerful, essential work as an independent investigative journalist, traveling the nation, investigating the lynching of Black people. Let's bring and put your hands together. Can I get an applause? Can I get a whoop whoop for
Whoop, whoop.
Mr.
Greetings,
Jeremiah?
everyone.
Greetings, sir. Welcome. Wow, your bio is impressive. So let me finish. His faith is an inaugural foundation in his work. To him, it's more than just a job. It's his purpose and calling. Can the church say amen?
Amen.
Over the years, the small project he began at 13 in his bedroom grew into a powerful media platform, the Jeremiah Patterson Show, delivering fearless, independent journalism that challenges power, informs the public, and tells the stories that others ignore. I feel you on that because that's what our voice is all about. So let's hear from you, your voice. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Wow, thank you for having me on again. And that was, it's like I understand that that was the introduction, but you delivering it, that was just absolutely amazing.
Thank
So, thank you very much. It's so great to be on the show with all of you and to be here this evening and to be amongst the panel. So I'm so grateful to be here.
So, Jeremiah, talk to us about your journey. So, we do have a couple of slides, and each one of these slides seem like it is your journey. So, as you just tell me next slide, and we'll go ahead and talk through.
Okay, so this first slide here is actually when I was 13 years old. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit here. So I got involved with history and politics when I was 8 years old. My cousin had this book on presidential history that she was giving to me from the time that she was in school. And as soon as I started reading the book, I was just enamored with all of the history in it. And so I started studying it and memorizing it, and then, going to the library all the time to read about, presidential history. And it was later on that I started to shift towards not just presidential history, but Black history and everything, because I would get home from school. I'd be in the second grade at this point, and my grandfather was like, "All right, so this is a movie that we have today on, like, World War II or Malcolm X and the Black Panthers and several essential moments in our history." So I was always taught that history is essential, especially your history. And when I turned 9 years old, it was what I essentially would describe as a modern day lynching that transpired here in Charleston. We had an individual named Walter Scott. This was very close to my aunt's house. That was gunned down near, essentially on Remount Road, by an officer. He was running and he was shot in the back about 8 times. And I remember feeling the weight of that just at 9 years old, also understanding how important it was to use my voice. So my mom, understanding, that I had a strong calling on my life, took me to the site. And that's where I met civil rights activists and the Reverend Al Sharpton, as well as other leaders. And it was a couple months after that, just after I had turned 10 years old, that there was a shooting at the Mother AME Emmanuel Church in downtown Charleston. And I was devastated by that. And again, my mom took me downtown to go to the site where everything was occurring. And, I ended up getting interviewed by news media that was there. And being so young, lots of people, they were sort of astonished by how young I was and how eloquent I was when I spoke. But I do believe that my calling and speaking truth to power has always been there. It just has been refined and developed over the years. And so that's how it gets started, from, historian to civil rights activist. And then at 13 years old, of course, becoming an independent journalist, because I felt that you don't see too many Black faces on the news. And I also wanted to, continue my calling of speaking truth to power, and that was something that I wanted to do.
All right.
That is amazing,
It
amazing.
sure is.
So let's go through some of these slides that I have for you. You're getting great accolades out there. So thank you, my viewers. And once we go through these slides, we're going to come back to our viewers. Get ready to have some questions for him. How did he get started? When did that spirit get upon him at 8 years old? I know you guys got some questions for him, but let's go through these slides. So Jeremiah, talk to me about these slides.
So this was when I was 13 years old. This is literally the inception of my journalism career. And I am actually an introvert and I'm very shy. So for the church that I go to, for them to propel me to a public speaking platform, because everyone knew I was so well spoken, I was like, all right, I'll do it, I guess. But this is me speaking in front of the church, and I believe I was giving like an introduction to the summer event that was happening at the time. And that was very early on in my journalism career. I was only 13 years old. I will say now that I am 21, it feels like I have lived like a whole life already, but I'm just getting started. So yes, that's when I was 13. And this slide
Yes,
here is
you have a
when
lot of life to go, kid. We want you
this
around for a
slide,
while.
yes, this slide here is when I was 20 years old. So this was earlier this year. This is January of 2026. Um, so I had actually felt, because prior to this, I was working jobs on top of being an independent journalist. And it was December of last year when I felt God calling me to, stop working completely and to just work full time as an independent journalist. And, of course, with a calling comes provision as well as protection. And so I obeyed and I listened. And this was my first trip after I had quit my job.
Wow.
And this was me in Landover, Maryland, which is near the Baltimore area, investigating the proposal of a data center, which it was supposed to go right behind me, but of course you have residents in the community who are very persistent and resisting. So I was able to interview folks and everything, and it was frigid, but I had to get the story.
That's what a good journalist does. Get the story. So we're going to hold you right there for a moment and let's take a look at this video that we have that we want to just introduce people because this video, per Miss Andrea, was how she fell in love with you, my love. So here you go.
Black people are being lynched all over the nation, and it's time for truth, accountability, and justice. That's why I'm setting out on a special Truth in Transit investigative report across the country to investigate the lynchings of Black people. I'm Jeremiah Patterson, a 21-year-old independent investigative journalist. I've been reporting since I was 13 years old. That is for 8 years, nearly a decade at this point. I have been watching what has been happening all over the nation for nearly a year now, and not only have I grown more enraged, but also that.
Hang on 1 second. But continue. Let's go back to you. For some reason, the weather, StreamYard.
Yeah, I'm having problems here too.
Yeah, StreamYard is getting. So Jeremiah, here's your next video, please. Slide. Let us know about this one.
So this slide here, this is when I was I 14 or 15? I think I was 15. No, I think I was 14 at the time. And this was like my this was like 8th grade. This was 8th grade. I was doing a show upstairs and my mom decided to snap a picture. And that is her taking a picture of me there. And I think this was like very early on. I was either 14 or 15 years old. But yes, that is a picture of me there recording the show.
All right, let's hear from our viewers. Miss Mo, let's hear what's going on out there. What is the viewers saying?
This is my hubby, Mike. And he says, as a society, we need to stop lifting up celebrities and lift up people who move humanity forward. And that is exactly what we're doing with people like Jeremiah, just ordinary people that feel like they have a calling, are sometimes the most powerful advocates that we could have out there. So very proud of you.
Yes.
Let's hear another one. Thank you, Mike, for that.
Well, this was for the other slide, probably. Those data centers are a menace, and they are. And Mr. Jamie has a question. How old were you when you knew you wanted this path?
I was 13 years old. Although I will say that going all the way back to probably around 10 years old is like when I had an interest in potentially, running for president or something. But it's like I was just talking to my brothers and he was like, throughout your very young life, he was like, whatever it has been, it always has been a calling about, helping the community and giving back and speaking truth to power. And you're always uncompromising and unfettered in everything that you do. So I think that was very, very sweet, also revelatory of them to say. But yes, I was 13 when I knew that I wanted to start, of course, with journalism.
Thank you for that question, Jamie. We have another one from Katie, and she's asking, what gives you the inspiration to do what you do?
What gives me the inspiration to do what I do is my faith. I would be absolutely nothing without it. I would not be here. This work is heavy. I also understand that this is spiritual as well. And when you are called to speak truth to power, there are forces that would rather you not. So you're dealing with a whole lot. But I am constantly, in my prayer closet and staying prayed up and everything and reading my word, because that's where I get rejuvenated after dealing with all of the mess and the institutional shambolicness of this chaotic and bifurcated world.
Well
Yes,
said.
indeed.
We
Yes.
have another one from Jazzy. Jazzy is saying, I'm voting for Jeremiah in 2028.
Look, she put you in the race.
Okay, he got 15 years, but he even old enough.
So now that,
But you could be a senator or something.
That's
so
right.
Jeremiah, now that you're in the race, what would you do for the people?
Wow. This is something I probably haven't thought about since I was 12 years old. I remember I had like this whole speech book, and it got lost when I was in the 3rd grade, but everyone pretty much knew that I wanted to be president and everything. And I had a speech book of speeches that I would, say if I were the president at the time, speeches on, gun violence legislation. And this was me very young at this time. Gun violence legislation, expanding healthcare in the sense that people should be able to afford to go to the doctor and not have to second guess it if they are dealing with health issues. Healthcare is not just something that, of course, you should think about when you're in a crisis, but it really is a human right. There's so many things. I really haven't thought about this since I was 12 because I've been focused on the system and questioning the system and holding the powerful accountable rather than being in that system. So that's a good question, though.
And you will give me an answer when you come back on. And Miss Jazzy Renee, go ahead, Mo. What is Jazzy asking Jeremiah?
Jeremiah, what issues do you think people around your age are most worried about currently?
Currently, I believe the issue would be affordability, as so many, people are trying to, whether they're deciding if they're going to move out of their parents' house. What does that look like in terms of wanting to start a family versus not starting a family? How you're going to pay your rent or potentially become a homeowner in the future. Just affording groceries for yourself before you even start a family. I mean, it's a whole lot. I would say another thing that people in my generation are most concerned about would probably be the trajectory of the nation and how everything has shifted so drastically. I mean, when I was in 5th grade, the the election that I remember, although I have a very vague memory of seeing Barack Obama on TV in 2008 when I was 3 years old. I don't know how I remember that at all. But when I was in 5th grade, I know that the election that was transpiring that time, of course, was between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And for Gen Z, we have had to deal with Trump running for president since 2016. And now he's president again. And most of us in Gen Z are adults now. So I think we are looking toward rebuilding what's left of the political system, not for the sense and returning to a sense of nostalgia for a system that did not work for everyone before, but building something that is worth, building something that is actually indicative of uniting everyone and for the betterment of everyone in the country.
So I'm
Building
going
back
to
better.
ask Miss Andrea to jump in and give us her question to you.
I'm so happy to have you on, and I hope you join us again. And I would love to meet your mother one day to tell her what a wonderful job she has done with you, and encourage you and kept you lifted up and kept you in a prayer closet, because that's where you need to go sometime to keep yourself straight. I didn't ask you, how many siblings do you have?
Okay, so I believe altogether I have 4 siblings, so it's 4 boys. I'm the oldest. The youngest is no longer here. He's in heaven.
Oh.
But there's three of us living, so I'm the oldest.
And when they talked about data centers, I thought that for your age, how do you feel about data centers?
I am definitely not for data centers, and I think when I was doing research, it's one thing to research a topic and to understand the severity of it versus actually going into a community and seeing what people actually feel about it. And it's just something that, in regards to energy extraction and the using of our resources such as water at very high levels, ultimately at the end of the day, it's not a good sustainable invention.
All right.
And one more, and I'll leave you alone. If there was one thing you could do in the next 12 months, what would you do?
In the next 12 months,
Mm-hmm. The next 12 months, whether it's visiting the sick and the elderly or, uh, you know, solving the crisis on beef.
Let them take it.
there's actually, I think in the next 12 months, one of the things that I'm looking forward to actually finally doing, because it's been on my list since last year, is investigating the assault on the USAID program. Of course, this essential international agency that has been just eviscerated by the Trump administration.
Mhm.
And it's going to have long term effects on countries everywhere and millions of people. And, that program, I was talking to a journalist last year about this, that program, as well as PEPFAR, talking about, if the changes are irreversible, and that's going to be probably decades to centuries to fix. And it's, the damage that has transpired has not just been here, but it has been around the world, and a lot of it is not fixable, and that is just absolutely harrowing and heartbreaking.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of people. Okay, thank you.
All right. If you haven't done so, we're going to ask you to like and subscribe. We need to keep this going because we have young people, Gen Zs, that are coming to our show and absolutely showing what they're made of. So please hit the like and tell a friend so you can subscribe. Over to you, Anitra. Your question.
Well, I want to know, you handled yourself very well. A lot of hard, heavy topics. What do you do to de-stress and free your mind so that you can maintain your sanity?
I was actually just I was actually just asked this question when I was meeting up with an activist in the Atlanta area. Um, I The first thing I'll do, of course, is like take a breath and everything. Pretty much put my phone in like do not disturb and recenter myself. So of course I will pray and everything, spend some time in my word. Also listening to music, going on walks, and really just like having long conversations with God about the state of the world and everything. Because I as our relationship has progressed, I've started to actually, talk to him more about politics and the state of the world and everything. I also really do enjoy journaling and reading. And one of my favorite activities to like de-stress and, decompartmentalize and everything is like finding a new word in the dictionary that I've never seen before and
I
writing it
love it
down.
too.
And so that's how my vocabulary has always grown over the years. So that's one of my favorite activities.
That's great. That's awesome. I love words too. So, yes, a bifurcated dichotomy.
So we have a question out there. Go ahead, Mo.
Do you ever fear for your safety with this regime and doing this work?
I do not. I did feel like I was going to get this question. I do not. One of the scriptures that sticks with me as I do this work is For God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And when I do this work, I don't operate in a spirit of fear because I would be unable to actually succeed in what I've been called to do. Um, no, I am not at all afraid. I walk boldly in what I'm supposed to do. When you are called to speak truth to power, when you're called to serve in any capacity, you should be doing it with a spirit of confidence and boldness. And fear does not constrain me whatsoever.
Excellent.
So, Jeremiah, we have Jazzy Renee. She has another question for you. Go ahead.
He actually answered that one already.
Oh, he did? Okay, great. Do we have another one out there?
No questions right now.
All right, back over to Anitra. Any other questions for him?
Yes, one more. So we were talking about the recent people finding people, black people, brown people hanging from trees across the South primarily. Um I see about 20 were found in the last like a rolling year in Mississippi alone. What do you think is going on? And
I
as,
do
as small as you can get it.
I do believe that what we are witnessing is sort of a reiteration of the Red Summer from 1919, where we saw just an amalgamation of racial, terrorist events transpiring across the country. I don't believe that lynching ever ended, although the last documented lynching that the government states was in 1981 in Alabama, of course, the lynching of Michael Donald by the Klan in that area. I do believe that the way that lynching has changed is, extra, judicial, executions, of course, as we have seen with law enforcement. Um, I believe that what we're seeing is Black people being lynched all over the country, and it is quickly dismissed as suicides by law enforcement, which is historically consistent with how they have always operated. So that is not of surprise, but it is worth investigating, just as Ida B. Wells did in her lifetime, traveling the South as a Black woman in the 1890s, which was extremely dangerous. But, she did not operate in fear as well. And it was that pursuit of the truth that was absolutely a necessity for the nation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, guys, we are going into our segment. I'll get you Mo. I just want to get some of his slides. So, this slide, Jeremiah, could you please let me know about, or let us know?
So this slide is when I was 10 years old. So I believe this was on like June 18th. No, this was Juneteenth. So this was Juneteenth, 2015. I was 10 years old at the time. And that's me being interviewed by Craig Melvin from MSNBC. And this was right after the Mother Emanuel 9 shooting happened. And I was standing right there in front of the church. And I don't know how exactly I got on camera, but I do remember that interview.
Wow, you look like you're ready and prepared for it.
Mhm.
I hear you. I hear you.
Indeed.
And one more. Let me give you this one, and then we'll go to Miss Mo.
So this slide is from where I recently was this week. I believe that was Tuesday of this week. I traveled to Gary, Indiana, to do this investigative report. Of course, I felt called to go there as well. I would attribute this to essentially being a humanitarian crisis. One of the historical examples that I sort of found to be reminiscent of is, the governmental response to Hurricane Katrina as it pertains to Black people in the area and everything. Being without power for 2 weeks while other, I guess you could say, more wealthy parts of the state, their power has been restored, is highly concerning. And actually speaking to residents in the community was emotional in terms of what they were experiencing. And it was also powerful. That spirit of love and unity in Gary was truly unparalleled.
Hmm. All right, Miss M.
Well, I was going to ask you about the level of cooperation that you're getting as you travel around and you're investigating, especially these lynchings, these deaths, these hangings that we've been seeing all over the South. As you travel and you try to get information, do you hit roadblocks? What sort of cooperation are you getting from local law enforcement or government, or where you travel? Are you getting much cooperation?
There are definitely roadblocks. Like, for instance, I will ask for a police report, I will get that. And, but once I start asking specific questions that are detailed and that will elicit, informed responses, there is a lack of transparency there. So I'm mostly finding myself speaking with local politicians or community members in the area to get more information on what exactly happens. And that's been the process thus far. So far, I've taken just one trip, and those findings will be made public very soon. So that investigation is almost done. And then, of
Oh,
course, I have a whole list of names as well.
right, right. And also, as far as family members or people in the community, do you get much cooperation from those people when they know that you're there trying to find answers for them? Do they cooperate with you?
Yes, they do. I will first say that for a lot of them, once I get in contact with them, the heartbreak is real. It's very profound. Of course, leading with the fact that they have lost a loved one in such a horrifying way, and that will then transition into a conversation about what they actually believe happened, and just wanting, the truth and justice for their loved ones, especially if they can't feel a sense of trust in law enforcement.
Right.
Well, let's get any questions out there
Well,
before we go on.
Democracy Jesus just made a statement. Indeed, keep putting a camera in their face and holding them accountable, asking questions and holding them accountable. That's the only way we're really going to ever learn anything.
Exactly.
I just want to jump in here and say, please make sure, show some love. Give the thumbs up. Make sure you're giving him some love. We are so grateful to have our youth on stage and doing the right thing. Absolutely. Miss Mo, any other questions?
No, that's it for me right now. I'd just be interested in hearing a little bit more about his work, his most recent work that he's doing.
Well, before we go into that, he does have another slide. Let's talk about that.
So this slide here is when I was 19 years old. This is me reading a stack of papers, and I believe by what I can see on that top paper there, it's about essentially the role that Black women played in securing the right to vote. Because of course we know that upon the 19th Amendment being secured for women to vote officially, that Black women were largely excluded from that movement, which they didn't officially get voting rights protections until, I believe, 1965, which now that act has been eviscerated as well. Goodness. But yes, that's what I was doing in that picture, just reading up on the history there as I was preparing for a show, because a lot of the times with my shows, I will bring history as an analogy to contextualize modern events. And it's very helpful for me as well.
And it's helpful for us because we do it here as well. So we can educate. You'll be surprised how many people are not aware of history, not his story, but history. So I agree. Here's another one of your slides.
Oh, wow. So this is me here in front of the same church that I was standing at when I was 10 years old. And I actually went to go back and visit this summer, the church this summer, because I do still live here in Charleston. And I was like, all right, so I'm 20 now. This is 10 years later. And I think it's powerful, such a powerful image, because this is part of my roots and everything, being from the Deep South, a historically Black city. And this time, instead of someone interviewing me, I am holding the microphone. So I think it's a very powerful image, and it's very full circle.
It is. It really, really is. That is definitely touching. And
Yes.
then you do have this one that you look like you were busy with work.
So yes,
Mhm.
that image there is when I believe I was in like the latter half of fifth grade. And this is right when, not fifth grade, the latter half of eighth grade. This is when COVID was happening. And, I was talking to my grandparents and I was like, all right, I have to print out all these articles because so much is transpiring. I need to read and to highlight. And I just had to have like a relegated time to work on all of this because I was typing my show at the same time. And so I was not just interested on tracking COVID in the country, but I was also checking it out across the world. So there's an article there on India's COVID crisis and then some other parts of the country. So I was reading from different health news stations as well as actual different reporting on what was happening.
So, Jeremiah, Miss Connie wants to know your YouTube channel. So go ahead and shout it out to them.
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Jeremiah Patterson Show.
There you
I
have it.
love it.
And please like and subscribe to us and also to Jeremiah. So, Jeremiah, last but not least, we do have this one that I want to ask you about. And we used it as your tag for today on Our Voice One. So, talk to us. You're still researching.
Yes, this was me, 20 years old. This was April of this year. So this was before I turned 21 in June. And I was in Houston, Texas to investigate this cancer cluster in the Fifth Ward community, which is a historically Black community in Houston. And I had to travel to multiple different places. One of the first places I traveled to was the Houston Research Center, so like the Julia Idison building. I really do not like when I run into sort of like hurdles when I'm researching, especially if I can't find something online. So I was like trying to find this report from 1966 and it did not exist online. So I had to actually go to the center and they handed me that one as well as a report from the 40s, the 70s, and the 80s. So that was an integral part of my research. And then this was me traveling here to the African American Research Center so I could specifically get information that was relevant to the crisis at hand. And so when this was actually published in video form, the official report, the president of the Impact Fifth Ward Justice, a group had called me because she's a strong advocate about the cancer cluster. And she was very grateful and full of so much joy that I had, conducted such extensive research, not just on, the modern news about the crisis, but the history, how did we get here? And so that's that picture.
Okay, so here we have it. Please take your time and explain to us some of your research, especially with the lynchings. And you do have some problem solving for us, how to stay safe. Go ahead, Jeremiah. And before you begin, like and subscribe. And thank you for supporting this young person. I am so proud of our viewers. You guys are out there. You're kind of quiet because you're listening, but you're here. You showed up. So we tip our hats and we say thank you for supporting this young man. Go ahead, Jeremiah. Show him what you made of.
So when I decided that I wanted to start taking on, lynching investigations and traveling the country, it was actually last summer. I was scrolling through YouTube, and I had found this documentary on Ida B. Wells, which I was not previously familiar with. And I ended up watching the whole documentary, and I finished it. And I was like, oh my goodness, a crusader for justice. She traveled the country investigating the lynching of Black people that happened back in the 1890s, and she published multiple reports on it. And I actually wanted to start doing it then. But of course, it was a waiting season, and it was from then all the way up until now. And although I wasn't able to exactly travel yet, because I did not have, the provision or the resources to, I was still, of course, make note of every single case that I saw that was, suspicious or that was, overtly a lynching. And this summer, actually, so it was towards the end of July, I was finishing up this report on the Black femicide crisis. It was like a 2-part series. I had decided, okay, it's time now. So I remember saying a prayer. Then I went to bed, and then I woke up the next morning, and I had said another prayer. And then I did that whole video, and then I pushed it out to all of my platforms. And that's when it sort of experienced this meteoric rise, with everyone, offering support, multiple people, emailing me or contacting me about, cases involving their children, of course, that they believe were lynched as well. And it has truly been a process of looking into each of these cases. And the way I think about this in terms of backspace of doing research, one of the reports that I plan to release after my first one is going to be on sort of the historical context, and a very essential point that I feel needs to be made, which is that, this summer, a lot of, Black people felt that, we are effectively being targeted with the amount of killings that transpired or injustices in the court systems. And so I was like, okay, I need to find a historical analogy for that. And I found this example all the way back from, I think it was like the 1950s or the late 40s, in which you had these civil rights activists go to the United Nations headquarters. One went to the one in Paris and another in New York, delivering them like this extensive investigatory document on charging the United States with genocide against Black Americans and everything. And not just regarding lynching, but, economic oppression, systemic racism, just a lack of resources, and, the effectively poverty being a crisis that was actually created and sustained by the government for a reason. And so it was that report that I feel is the prelude to a lot of how we are here today, and effectively another iteration of a Black genocide crisis that's happening in the country, which needs to be talked about. And it's something that is going to have to be addressed at the root, rather than focusing specifically on one specific issue. But the most concerning, of course, would be the fact that we are seeing, lynching, not in the form of, shooting, not in the form of, extrajudicial killings, but where we're seeing a return in it, in the sense of, Black people found hanging from trees, which is deeply disturbing. And I've been looking into several cases. There's this one case from, I believe it's like the late 80s. For historical context, I was looking into that case, and when police had found this young man hanging from a tree, it was ruled a suicide within 21 minutes. So it's like this is a not only historically consistent, but this is something that we are continuing to see happen to this day. And so it's like when I conduct these anti-lynching investigations, I am not necessarily trustworthy of law enforcement. I believe that the actual truth lies within the community and speaking to different people who saw something or who heard something. And that's always where you're going to find the answer.
I believe that.
Yes.
I'm from a smaller community, and usually there's an undertone of something if something major's going on, and people that don't know are the ones that don't want to, but you get a rumor about something that's like, sometimes you say, what's going on, and they say, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Go
We have
ahead.
one question here. Have you had any interest in becoming a writer for a newspaper or an anchor on a news show? Or are you just interested in the investigative part of the journalism?
So this is a question I've been asked multiple times, also in the form of a compliment, people saying, you'd be great like on a news show. The thing is, I never fully subscribed to taking that on, even in the sense of like, a conceptual idea, because when I did start this work at 13, I don't believe I knew it then, but I was building something that was completely different from mainstream media. And I feel like sometimes in the space of being independent, you can feel ostracized, but it is something that it's a new form of telling the news and presenting history and the facts and stories in a way that if you are a part of the mainstream media, you are less inclined to have those opportunities or that creative freedom.
Yeah, I agree
So,
with that.
so
Go ahead.
Jeremiah, to wrap up this segment, how can we save our young people out there? What, in all the readings that you have read, because you can't say they made a mistake, but someone had a foul step. And it's I'm tired of hearing about the strange fruits hanging from the trees. So how can we save our young people? What would you tell them?
I believe first and foremost, it is very important to practice vigilance and to be cautious of others. Specifically, if you are, walking alone, if you're not in a group of people that you trust, but just even making sure that there is trust in those groups. It's very important to be cautious and to be vigilant, to always, be ready to defend yourself in any circumstance. But also, of course, with that vigilance and caution also comes um, a necessity to be informed about the state of the world. It is very difficult to protect yourself if you are unaware as to what is going on. And so many young people that I encounter, just over the course of, my life, some may not always be aware of what's happening in the news. And I think it's important to, if you don't watch mainstream media, to follow people on social media that you trust to deliver the news, and then to not just instantly take their word for it, but to immediately corroborate that with, articles and additional research. So that's very crucial as well. And then lastly, I would also say voting is very essential. Um, I grew up in a household where I was excited just to hold the I voted sticker, and I wasn't even able to vote yet. So that's essential because with every single system, every single prospective issue that you have within society, or that you have about, maybe a tax that's happening, or the raising of your utility bill, or you have an issue with, corruption on the bench with this judge, all of that you have to vote, because it's not just at the federal level with voting for the president, but it's also local politics. And that's why I always say, people love to vote every 4 years, but the midterms are more essential than the
Yes.
presidential election. And we
Yes.
have to understand that. With Congress, all of these seats, all of your local races, your state legislator as well.
Preach.
But no, you definitely have to vote. It is very essential.
It is
Excellent.
so funny. I'm so glad that you say that. We say it each and every show. But today is Seeking the Truth Thursday, and we're so glad. I noticed that we have tapered off in some of our viewers because we don't have drama that we're talking about. We're trying to feed them with their souls. So hopefully people will tune in and hear what you have to say. Jeremiah, we will ask you, would you like to come back when you will ready to give your dissertation on your findings? Would you?
Absolutely. I would be honored to come back on the show.
Great.
And
We would be honored to have you. Anything else before we wrap up this segment?
I just want to let him know I'm waiting for that book. No pressure, no pressure.
And
That's-
Andrea?
But he said that you said you wrote a book already, didn't you? Or you wrote? I thought you said you wrote a book already.
Yes, so that book I wrote and published when I was 19, and that was in the form of an ebook. So that was like a resistance guide on how to, fight authoritarianism as we were proceeding, getting ready to have, of course, the second iteration of the Trump presidency. But it's funny that she mentions that because I actually started working on a book when I was 13 years old called How I Became Involved. And I feel like I should finally finish it.
Yeah, I think it would be inspirational.
You looking better every day. Got that Benjamin Button.
Yeah, we need the young people in the fight. We do. And I think that would be inspirational. You're such an inspiration, just your whole story and your history. I'm so glad that Miss Andrea found you. It was a delight
Thank you,
speaking to
Jeremiah.
you today.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for showing up. And with that said, we would like you to stick around because we're moving into our next segment. It is called Mo Time. So, Miss M, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I got something quick and light for you guys. We're headed into the fall, but you know how that is. In October, you get that Indian summer, right? You get the kids coming home from school or you get the weekend. And I've got this quick cold treat that you could probably get done with the stuff that you have in your kitchen already. You don't need a big old ice cream machine or anything like that to make it. It's just a very quick vanilla ice cream recipe for you guys.
Sounds good. Let's go ahead and play the video.
Hi, I'm Jerry James Stone, and you're watching Cooking Stone. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to make ice cream using ingredients you probably already have at home. It only takes 5 minutes, not a whole lot of stuff, and it's really super easy. And you get homemade ice cream. How great is that? So let's start. The first thing you need is milk. I suggest using whole milk. You can use like 1% or 2%, but you'll get a lot of ice crystals. So it's really, if you're going to eat ice cream, you just eat the fat, right? The next thing you want is cream, because like I said, you want the fat. Like ice cream, it's in the name, cream, right? We're going to do vanilla and a half cup of sugar. And just take everything and mix it together. You want the sugar to be completely dissolved. So the next thing we're going to do is transfer our ice cream mixture to a plastic bag. Now, I recommend using a bowl, and I recommend using a bag that has a zipper, because the zipper, well, this bag is going to go inside another bag, and you really don't want it to spill. So using the bowl, just pour mixture into this bag. And now we're just going to seal that up. Rid of some of the air. So next we're going to create our ice cream machine, which is pretty much this plastic bag filled with ice. So just go ahead and add in a few ice cubes to get it started. Then we're going to add a half cup of rock salt. Now you don't need rock salt. You can actually just use any kind of salt, but the salt is important. So you want to make sure you have it. This is what's going to help bring the temperature down. So go ahead and take the smaller bag and put it inside your ice cream maker, which is just another plastic bag. And from there, we're going to add in the remaining ice. trying to cover it on both sides. I recommend wrapping this in a towel because it gets cold because it's ice cream. So take the bag, wrap it up, and then we're going to shake the heck out of it for about 5 minutes or so. You can do it less if you want it to be more like soft serve, or you can do it more. It's up to you. Okay, so we shook that for 5 minutes, and now we're going to remove our bag of ice cream. As you can see, it's a lot firmer than it was when I put it in there. Inside we have our makeshift ice cream, which I'm then going to scoop out. The great thing about this is you can make any ice cream you want. You can make strawberry ice cream, chocolate ice cream. It's all at your fingertips anytime you want it. Or you can just put your favorite toppings on. There you go.
See? Yep. I had I had 3 little ones that used to come home from school at 3 o'clock, and they wanted the snacks and they wanted this and that and the other. So, you know, when you got 3 little kids, money's tight. You gotta learn how to make do with what you have. Yep. And that was one of their favorites, ice cream. Quick ice cream.
I am loving that. That's quick and easy. Jamie said, we got to highlight what Jamie said. Ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
That's quick. That's
The
my kind
title
of
of his
cooking.
show. My kind of cooking show. Cooking Stone.
Just sprinkle it.
Oh, I like what Jazzy Renee say, especially in this economy. Yes, Miss
Yeah,
Jazzy.
yeah.
We're going to have to go back to the old times.
Mhm.
Oh, I know about it.
Oh, yeah.
We can make it through. So we do have Miss Andrea's funny, and also Jeremiah, do you have any questions for us? It's only fair.
Okay, so so I guess the question I would have is, what inspired you all to begin this show and to start talking about, different topics and everything?
I'll go first. The election.
Ah,
The election. The whole entire process. I was so disappointed in the way legacy media covered the election. The way that things were done. I feel like it was more a spectacle than anything else. People remained uninformed. And then when things started happening, once he was elected and once he was sworn into office, things just started happening so rapidly. I felt the need for my voice to be heard. And so I actually started this. I went on the Don Lemon show and was invited to be a legend on his show. And that's what sort of started this. And then we have an offshoot from there. And that's how we all met and decided we just wanted to bring our voices out into the forefront, keep people as informed as we possibly could. So that's my story.
And
I personally have always had a big mouth anyway, but I was raised the opposite from you. I was raised by like conscientious objectors. You're not supposed to get involved in politics and all that. And I realized early on, after I got about 19, 20, whether I like it or not, it's involved with me. And so the older you get, you start to realize it, and you start to take jobs to see how it impacts you in the crap that goes on. And so I talk about it with people and learn and talk and learn. And people was like, you need to write something or do something. And then I got on Don's show and I started doing videos on just random videos on the internet and talking to people. And then I met these guys and we split off and here we are. And that's wonderful because I got to meet you too.
Miss Andrea.
Well, I couldn't help myself, and I felt I had a calling just like yourself. And people had always told me, Andrea, you're going to be known one day. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But watching our ancestors sacrifice for us and watching the Underground Railroad, and then watching I always forget her name, sit wanted to sit down, and I could see her how she felt. I said, because I get tired when I ride the bus. Sometimes I used to ride the bus, I wanted to sit down too. And I always noticed how people treated us too, and I was very unhappy about how they treated us. And so when the opportunity presented itself, I mean, I just think it was God. I think the reason all four of us, five of us now are together is because of God, because it's something we're supposed to do. Because Donald Trump, he doesn't care about us.
Mm.
He don't care nothing about us. Rosa Parks, he doesn't care anything about us, and I don't know how we get caught with him. And so that's what made me get involved.
So for my flight deck, it's because we all have a voice. And I felt like my voice is not being heard because people are making decisions for me, my family, my neighborhood, and for my town that we're not being heard. So the best way to do it, come here, our voice, and speak up. Like we have Democracy Jesus, we have Jazzy Renee, we have Angry Army Vet from the military. So we have our military sections that can speak out because it's vital, it's important. We have our young people like yourself speaking out, and it is vital. We have mothers that are on here that is fighting for their kids' safety so they could speak out. We have people that laying hands on each other, making sure that we're feeding each other. That's what happened here on Our Voice. And I'm so glad, I'm so grateful for everyone that shows up weekly, every Tuesday, Thursday, and then we sip on Saturday. It can't be any better than that. And Fridays, we do our recap. So that's why we do it. And I hopefully, Jeremiah, it definitely sticks with you. So when you go back and do your work, you think of us four ladies. We're out here on the ground because we're laying hands on you and sending you with nothing but a hedge of protection. Amen.
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 And with that said, we always send our people out back into this world at night for peace. But yesterday was hope. Today is patience. And Miss Andrea, I'm going to ask you to read it.
Patience. It's like a rock in the middle of the ocean. It may look small on the surface, but deep beneath the waves, it holds incredible strength.
And that's what we're holding. Thank you, Miss Sandra. We're holding deep strength. Keep doing what you're doing, Jeremiah. You're making us proud. All the mothers out there, all the fathers out there, all the young people out there. Jazzy Renee is smiling from ear to ear. Democracy Jesus is doing that. Amen. And Jamie, he is definitely can't wait till we do K-pop Demon Hunters review on Saturday. So there you have it. So everyone, we thank you. We normally do our round table, but I feel that we said we're going to give Mr. Jeremiah the last word today. Jeremiah, over to you.
The final thing I would say, first and foremost, to all of you is thank you so much, truly, for getting in, as John Lewis called it, the good trouble, and doing that essential resistance work and that powerful work. And I would just encourage everyone else to do the same as well, because of course, mass resistance not only defeats authoritarianism, but it alters the system that you currently are in. and for everyone to just do your part by voting, of course, by using your platforms, no matter how small, to truly boost what is happening in the world, and to encourage your friends and your family members to stay informed on what is happening, to make sure that you read your news, especially the local news. Support your local news stations. Support investigative journalism outlets and independent journalists. And don't just read their work and share their work, but if you can, also please do fund their work, because they are doing incredible work, and funding is definitely a necessity. Continue to this is to all of you. I would say continue to shine bright in all that you do. All of you have such effervescent and welcoming spirits about you, and
Oh,
I am so so grateful
boy.
to have met all of you. And I am inspired, and I'm so full from this entire conversation, and I will always carry this in my heart, especially remember all of your smiles, and the conversation. Truly, this has been such a huge inspiration.
And I feel the same way. Thank you,
Thank
Jeremiah.
you,
Yes,
Jeremiah.
thank
And
you.
with that said, from our house to yours and to our viewers, thank you for participating. Make sure before you leave us, you got to hit that like, thumbs up. I'm begging. Yes, I am. And we
Hmm.
always do so. Make sure you tune in to us tomorrow because we have Recap Friday. Did you know? Make
I
sure
was going
you
to say
tune in.
tomorrow,
All
Friday.
right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we say thank you and have a good evening.
Good night.